Oh, this is a big one. This is episode 100. Now, in the past, I wanted to do some kind of big celebration for the 100th episode of the shitstorm that is me on a soapbox just pontificating about God only knows what. But for some reason, there's a few of you out there that seem to like what I have to say. I hope I'm not turning you all into a new version of the incels. Although I think I don't think I know. I've always known that I would be a great cult leader. Now, the term cult leader leaves a bad taste in most people's mouths because they associate cult leaders with, the Charles Mansons, the jabroni who put poison in the drinks and killed everyone on that island, the other jabroni who cut their balls off and thought they were going to be in a spaceship behind the moon. It was going to take them to heaven or something. Heaven's Gate, I think those mofos were, and so on and so on and so on. Waco, although, yeah, that was a cult. But I don't think I would get into any of that shit. I definitely wouldn't get into weapons. I definitely would not get into poison. I definitely would not be diddling any kids because that seems to be strike three for most cults. I think I would be just like a cool guy that would just get up there, dress very cool. I think I'd have some dynamite fashion choices. And I would just be like, okay, in today's sermon about not being a cunt, we're going to talk about what to do when you get cut off while driving. What do you do when you get stood up on a date? What do you do when you feel like you want to punch your boss in the face? All these things that people go through, we all feel the same. We all have white hot rage anger bubbling in us all the time. I'm not special. I just know how to deal with it in a little bit of a mature way, I think. I don't know. Maybe I say, enlightened way. So I think like I said, I wouldn't get into like revenge and shitting on other people. Maybe I would, but it would be like, you got to give them a chance. You can't shit on people that you've never met and you've never tried to help. Okay. If you try doing those things and they're still a jabroni, well, then you got to cut them out of your life. Okay. Use that as a lesson moving forward. What's up, LaFonda? You definitely would be in second command in my cult. What would be our name? That's funny. Send me what you think my cult would be called. I also would definitely not be in weapons and shit, so you wouldn't have the ATF on you. And I guess you could kind of call it a religion, so I would be tax free, but I would be so transparent with the money. I would want people to investigate me and my cult and for signs of corruption, for signs of theft, things like that. Irregularities, as they call it. I would want that. And I wouldn't be marrying like 10 women or having unlimited wives or husbands or anything like that. I would be like, do what you got to do. Don't diddle kids. Okay. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool. I think I'd be a very good cult leader. I really do. I wouldn't be talking about revolutions or how to take back power, or I definitely would not get into the freaky deaky religion part. I would be like, okay, you want to get into religion? You want to have a little bit of spirituality in your life? Okay. You should be your own God first. And then if you want to have a God be, a second God, have that be, Christian God or Jehovah or who are the Muslims believe in? Muhammad. If you're a Jew, it's Moses, right? No, it's God. It's not Moses. They don't believe in Jesus. I guess maybe Moses is their Jesus. I'm sorry, I don't know much about the Judaism. Buddhism, of course, is Buddha. I mean, you can go down the list. Scientology, there's L. Ron Hubbard's fat honky ass. Have that be God B. God A, the alpha God, is you. Because if you can't make yourself happy, you're not going to make the person you're with happy. Or if you're single, the odds of you finding someone of substance to make you and them happy, it's very low. But the same rules apply to your God, I think. If you can't make yourself happy, how can you make your God happy? You can keep putting it up to God. Well, I'm unhappy, God, so I'm going to talk to God and he's going to fix me. Or she. I don't gender God. I imagine the first thing most people do when they get to their version of the pearly gates. I don't know. Um, the first thing they do when they see a god, whether it be Muhammad, Jesus, Moses, who the fuck ever, Buddha, the first thing they're going to do is look at the crotch, right? Come on. I'm not the only one that thinks that. The first thing I would do if I ever see God is look at his crotch. I want to know, does he have a human crotch? Or is it some kind of celestial crotch where their vagina penis thing is like some weird contraption that I've never seen before? You know, if there's some weird penises out there in the animal kingdom, and there's some danky ass vaginas as well. Hey, you guys know what a cloaca is? A cloaca is your asshole and vagina at the same thing. It's the same thing. So you shit piss out of the same hole that you get injected with, what makes the world turn. A jism. I mean, it'd be crazy. What if the higher deities just have cloacas? You know what I'm saying? Oh, my point is, I can't be the only one that thinks, I wonder what kind of crotch God, Jehovah, Buddha, Muhammad, all the gods, like, what do they look like? What do they look like? Come on. I'm not that immature, okay? I think this is just common sense. And I feel like other animals in the animal kingdom think the same way. Some of the smartest animals that we currently know of, dolphins, octopus, chimpanzees, you don't think when they're close to dying, they think, well, I wonder what's going to happen when I go up into chimp heaven. I'm definitely going to check out the chimp god's crotch first. Definitely. And you know those horny ass octopuses are. Have you seen hentai porn? Hentai, that's the tentacle porn, right? Well, whatever, the tentacle porn, they're horny animals. So of course their god's gonna probably be the antithesis of that. And if you don't know what antithesis means, you need a dictionary. But what the hell is my point here? Oh yeah, so it's my 100th episode. I initially was planning a big event, but with COVID still lingering around, not bad enough for you to cancel things anymore. But some people are still hesitant. I still haven't set up a way to have two microphones. I did get a new computer though. Finally, 2 years in the making. I should have just done it. That's the thing, people. You keep putting something off because you're waiting for a better buy or a better product or a better company or whatever. You all have your stupid reasons like me. You keep putting something off. For me, I was waiting for one brand of computer and it was always out of stock or the wait was always forever. I think it's either Asus or Acer. It's not the cheap one that is available everywhere. There's two A computer companies. I get them always mixed up, but I was waiting and waiting and waiting. And then inflation hit, and then the wait was even longer to actually get it. And I said, okay, let me just go to Costco, see what they got. I trust Costco. I finally found someone that at a store that I can actually help me because this may shock some of you, but I'm not that tech savvy when it comes to computers. I get very stressed and anxious about the thought of setting up a new computer, bringing all of my old stuff over, updating the new computer's passwords and settings, and downloading all my systems, making sure that my editing software for this, for example, is working. Do I remember my logins? Do I have activation keys? I just get stressed, because something that you use every day, like my computer, I know where everything is. It's like a extension of me. Jesus Christ, that sounds sad, but you know what I'm saying. So I think that also went into why I was putting off the new computer, but I finally got it. It's running smooth, baby. I mean, I should have done this so long ago. So my point is, don't put things off just because you're waiting for something stupid to happen. Just do it. If you can afford it, just do it. I think of all the shitty video calls that I've done on this desktop where the connection was so bad, pixelated potato quality. I would talk and there'd be like a 5-second delay. I couldn't do any of the cool backgrounds on Zoom or what's the other one I use all the fucking time? What the hell is that system? Discord. Jesus Christ. So, yeah, I mean, I was making other people suffer. I play a weekly Dungeons and Dragons video night with my friends. I've been playing the same character for over 2 years, and I've been playing with many of the same players for equally long. And during COVID, we've been playing only on Zoom or whatever video system we want to use. We've gone through a few, and I always had the worst connection, always. But I didn't think it was that big of a deal until a couple of weeks ago. So a few of my friends said, Angelo, man, you have got to get a new computer. Do you need help? Like, we can give you a couple bucks. We can all chip in. And I got so embarrassed. I said, guys, I am sorry. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was this bad. I'm an adult. Sometimes I know how to adult. Let me take care of it. And I did. I just had the latest D&D video chat, and they were so excited for me. They could see me. I was in HD quality, unfortunately. I mean, I don't like being in HD quality. My skin tone does not look good on high def. I need to be what's below standard def. I need to be like VHS definition. I mean, I am so white and pale. You can actually see through me like a newborn fish. It's horrifying. I'm amazed that any woman ever swipes right on the dating profile on me. I really am. I'm such a honky. I can't help it. I don't know why. I'm almost like what was powder? All white people. No, not Aborigine, LaFonda. That's racist. Especially when a cat like you says it. The hell are all those people that have no pigment? They're all white. It starts with an A. I know what I'm talking about here. People who are all white, no pigmentation. The movie Powder. Not vitiligo, motherfucker. You know what I'm talking about. I look like that person. Jesus, I should not have done the bong hit before I started recording. I say that a lot. One of these days, I'm actually going to follow through and not get annihilated before I start recording. But what have I learned through 100 podcasts? I think the quality has gotten better. Maybe I can't say that. Maybe that's up to you to tell me if the quality's gotten better. Organization has gotten better. That I don't need anyone to tell me, because that I can tell, because I've put a lot of effort into actually planning out these, getting everything ready so I'm not spending 15 minutes a podcast trying to search Google for websites and news stories that I once read. I have it all ready to go. I have my shit set up on my phone. Not to mention, when I first started, I didn't have an intro song. The artwork was iffy at best. I did have an ex-girlfriend that helped me in that department. And then once we broke up, I felt odd asking her to continue, especially when she told me so. So when I was feeling odd about it, and then she said, I really feel weird doing this after we broke up, I thought, you know what, that's probably a good idea that we stop. But I went on Fiverr, that great app, and I got a jingle and I got new artwork. And yeah, I still have plans to make this a little bit better. I still am thinking about setting up a second microphone for if and when I start interviewing people. I've spoken to another one of my friends about doing another podcast, her and I, about the current dating life of both of us. And of course, past and present and future dating issues. We're going to bring on other friends of ours that are experiencing the single life. And we're talking about bringing on married couples or engaged couples. Just we have plenty of content's my point. But the thought of doing that podcast and this podcast and editing it and producing both, it just kind of stresses me out. So I do need a little help there. So if any of you listen out there and you can edit and produce, hit me up. There may be a job for you. Don't make me go to University of Washington journalism department and get a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds to do it for free, okay? I don't want to have to teach them all this shit. And I don't want them to judge me. When they said, I was going to edit this, but when you were talking about the Don't Say Gay bill, I just got very offended. And I feel like not only can I not work with this, but no one should hear it ever. I am going to actually write to SoundCloud and YouTube and Amazon and wherever this filth is posted, and we're going to complain. We're going to get you kicked off. But it's only your opinion. Yeah, but I speak for everyone. Okay, it's 2022, and that's what happens now. So, yeah, I don't want that to happen. That is worst case scenario. I don't think that would happen. I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I wouldn't bring somebody on that is like that. You catch what I'm saying? But anyway, so happy 100. You can probably hear LaFon in the background. She's already fucked up on Nip. So hope she doesn't get belligerent and try to Will Smith me. Oh, what a cuck he is. Oh, but Chris Rock has material now for what? How many specials after the next one? He's gonna have so many good content for his stand-up, and he needs to name it appropriately. One of my favorite comedians, Eric Griffin, said he really should call the next special Jada. Just embrace it. I don't. Yeah, that would be hilarious if we called it Jada. Eric Griffin's fucking funny. Check him out. He has his own podcast. He's on. He does streaming video games on what's that platform? Twitch. Jesus Christ, I feel like a boomer. I don't know what anything's called. But anyway, plowing ahead here. I got a couple news stories that caught my attention during the week. The first story is, in my opinion, the most important, probably because it hits the closest to home. Staten Island Amazon Union clinches historic win. This actually came through right when I was finishing last week's episode. So I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. As you are probably aware, if you listen to my podcast somewhat regularly, or if you like to torture yourself, a weekly listener, I am pretty big on unions, specifically with giant companies such as Amazon, Starbucks, Target, Kroger. I could keep going. And in a current political environment where I don't think workers have had this much bargaining power probably since before and after the Great Depression, I can't remember. Not obviously never in my lifetime. But let me go ahead and pull up the story here. Workers at one of Amazon's New York City facilities have voted to be represented by a union, a historic first as the nation's second largest private employer. After the 2-day ballot count, workers at the Staten Island warehouse known as JFK 8 voted by a 2,654 to 2,131 margin to be represented by the Amazon Labor Union, an independent organization led by current and former workers. The amount of challenge ballots, 66, is not enough to sway the result. The union can now move forward, collectively bargaining for a contract for the first time at an American Amazon facility. Oh, thank you, Jesus. The genesis of the unionization campaign came at the start of COVID-19 when several employees at the warehouse walked off the job to protest Amazon's safety measures. A year later, led by a worker named Christian Smalls, who was later fired amid the protests, the independent ALU was formed. The group failed in its first shot in petitioning for a union vote at JFK 8 after falling short of the 30% express support required by the National Labor Relations Board, but was successful the second time after submitting hundreds of additional signed cards. Workers who supported the union said they did so because of insufficient pay, lack of advancement opportunities, and unsafe working conditions at the warehouse. One employee who has been working as a water spider, shepherding boxes between packers and stowers at the facility for over 3 years, said that he frequently has spoken to upper management about potential fixes to dangerous parts of the job have caused him injuries but has been ignored. Voting for the union provided the opportunity to have his concerns voiced by a group with more power to hold Amazon responsible. Serious injuries also abound at the warehouse. Another worker was hit in the back of the head by a box that fell from a raised conveyor belt in December, suffering a concussion that he is still seeing a neurologist for. And then it goes on and on and on. I want to speak a little bit here about Christian Smalls, who is now leading the ALU, the Amazon Labor Union. He was fired for trying to organize. Okay. This should not be happening in a civilized country. Dare I say, the leader of the free world, as we like to call ourselves, in the second largest employer in this country. For wanting to unionize one warehouse, they fired him and plenty of others. And Amazon is not alone in this. I'll get to that cocksucker Starbucks here in a minute. Now, I have watched Christian Smalls talk on a number of podcasts and a number of news sources. The guy is smart as a motherfucker. Okay? He does not back down. He's going to push you. And probably he scares a lot of old rich people in power. Besides the obvious of him being a young black man who does have a little bit of a grill, and he does dress, as some of the older boomers think, a bit thuggish. That thinking will never change, by the way, with the older generation. Trust me. I have studied the boomer my entire life. Not only are they the most selfish, narcissistic, me, consumer generation that has ever graced this planet, but they are still abhorrently racist, even though they say that they are not racist because I have black friends. Oh, well, then you're not racist. Anyway, let me back up. So, what a sweet, sweet, sweet revenge it must be for Christian Smalls to now be heading an organization that's going to work directly with the jabronis that fired him. Oh, I would love to be a fly on that wall. And I saw that after the vote went through and they were celebrating, he called out Jeff Bezos and said, while you were up in space, well, let me back up here. He said, thank you for being up in space. While you were up there flying around, we were down here organizing and unionizing. I butchered his comment, but that's the gist of it. And of course, I also love Christian Smalls' way of handling people that want to jump on the coattails, so to speak. Months ago, I was hearing that a lot of progressive politicians, ones that I hold in high esteem, like AOC and Bernie and other progressives, they were talking to Christian Smalls and talking to other Amazon labor union advocates around the country. And because this one is in Staten Island, this is in New York, this is where AOC is from, this is what she represents. She has workers from her district in this warehouse, for example. A couple of months ago, they were all on board with Christian Smalls trying to help and do whatever they can. But then Christian Smalls said that he couldn't reach them. They stopped returning his calls. He found that very upsetting because can you imagine the push the union vote would have gotten if you saw a Bernie Sanders or an AOC not only talking about it, tweeting about it, but actually going there and actually supporting you in person with their clout, with their following? It didn't happen. It did not happen. In hindsight, he says that may have actually helped because there was a Bessemer union vote that failed, and that one's going to be revoted soon because Amazon fucked that over too. The fucking corruption never stops. They did not like, these are the Bessemer warehouse workers, how their union vote got tied up with Black Lives Matter, got tied up with Me Too, it got tied up with universal health care, it got tied up with a bunch of shit that is important, but has nothing to do with the union vote. You had voters of all ages and all races saying, I didn't want to hear about Black Lives Matter when I was going to a union. I didn't want to hear about that shit. They did not like it being so political and being used as ammunition for Fox News or the MSNBCs of the world. So now this one in Staten Island did not have that, it seems. And the reasoning, by the way, that AOC, for example, told Christian Smalls that she could not be there was for security concerns, and that was one of the many reasons. But then a couple days later, she was at the Met Gala. So where were the security concerns there? He's talked openly about this, and in fact, Crystal Ball from Breaking Points, one of my favorites, I hold him in very high regard. Breaking Points is where I get the majority of my news. I think I will even play a clip here in a little bit from the show. She called AOC out right on Twitter because AOC was posting about the union win like she actually had something to do with it. She may have in the beginning, but she has been silent and non-existent there for weeks, if not months. So she was celebrating like because of her hard work it passed. That's not what happened. So Crystal Ball called her out. AOC called Crystal Ball out, and it was going back and forth. And so they brought Christian Smalls on the show to clear the air. And of course, he reiterated what he already said. They were not present. They did not help. We would have loved their help. They told us they were going to help, and they didn't do it. So this isn't a time for me to throw Bernie and AOC under the bus. But the point being, the union vote went through. This is great. I don't like how everyone tries to jump on the coattails if they had nothing to do with it, but this is America 2022 politics, okay? It would have been nice if the Bernies and the AOCs of the world celebrated it and apologized, saying, I wish I would have done more, I wish I could have been there, but hey, a win is a win. That, I think, would have been fine. Or they could have contacted Christian Smalls independently and said, congratulations, I apologize that we weren't able to work out a way to assist you more, but just know we support you, and anything you do moving forward, we are actually going to try very hard to be a part of it as best we can. Just something, meet them halfway. But fuck all that. Who cares about the fucking drama? This ain't the Oscars. The fact that this is the first Amazon warehouse to unionize is going to set up a domino effect, and I cannot wait. Amazon's already preparing for war, releasing a document internally. Of course, it got leaked to the press about all these words that will no longer be used for Amazon verbiage. Unions are on there, freedom is on there, living wage is on there. The list goes on and on and on. It's actually quite disgusting. I wish I had the list of words. However, like I said earlier, Starbucks is also one of the biggest employers in this country, and they are also avidly against unionization. They say they're a great company to work for. They say they're one of the most progressive thinking when it comes to employees and their pay and their benefits and their promotions, yada, yada, yada. Okay, it's all talk. It's all talk. I know so many people that work at Starbucks. They fucking hate it. Just like I know tons and tons of people that work at Amazon. Very few don't contemplate suicide on a daily basis. So anyway, Starbucks has brought back Howard Schultz to be the CEO, because if there's anyone that's going to get the union busters out, it's Howard Schultz. Why do I say that? Well, listen to this.
Now, here's where it gets a little sensitive, because I've been coached a little bit. But I do want to talk about something pretty serious. We can't ignore what is happening in the country as it relates to companies throughout the country being assaulted in different ways by the threat of unionization.
The fuck did you just say, Howard Schultz? The threat of unionization. It's an assault. Who are these workers that think that they can unionize and try to better themselves? Can't we, as rich white cunts, tell them what they need and what they are going to get? Surely this is how capitalism has worked. Oh, who are these employees? Can we fire them and bring in outsiders? By the way, that's what I think is going to happen with companies like an Amazon, where Americans will want to unionize. And instead of, meeting them either halfway or giving in, they will say, nope, we're going to fire the lot of you and hire a bunch of foreigners on contracts. And this is nothing against foreigners. I work with plenty of them, but they don't have the same wish, or they don't have that an identity like that. If they hire a bunch of scrubs basically from India and China, those aren't big pro-union nations. They never have been, to my knowledge. And I don't think it would change. I work with some international people, and some of them are pro-union. Some of them are laugh at it, like, why? The ones that say why usually come from nations that have socialized healthcare, and they don't need such things because the country already provides them what many unions here are fighting to do. So to them, it's unnecessary and just more money being squandered. Well, that would make sense if the nation you live in takes care of you and actually gives a fuck about you and your livelihood or the air you breathe. But moving on to another happy story. This I didn't think would ever happen while the corpse Biden is still president, but the House approves a bill legalizing marijuana. Now, this is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think this would happen until we had a younger, hipper, maybe, dare I say, a progressive president. But by then I'd be 80. And so I was surprised to see this. But I curbed my enthusiasm, as Larry David would. And I knew right away, within the first paragraph, it was going to kill the dream. Because just because the House passed it doesn't mean those old skeletal dinosaurs in the Senate who still think marijuana will lead to jazz music, they are not going to approve it. But regardless, this is a giant step forward. The House passed legislation to legalize marijuana nationwide and eliminate the long-standing criminal penalties for anyone who distributes or possesses it. Lawmakers passed the bill largely along party lines, 220 to 204, with 3 Republicans joining, but 2 Democrats voted against. The 3 Republicans who voted for the bill were pedophile Matt Gaetz, Brian Mast from Florida, and Tom McClintock from California, while Democratic Representatives Henry Kohler from Texas and Chris Pappas from New Hampshire voted against it. The measure now goes to the Senate, where Majority Leader Charles Schumer, Chuck, is working with fellow Democrats to introduce a marijuana legalization bill as soon as this spring. but it's not clear a bill to broadly legalize marijuana could clear the necessary 60 votes to advance in the Senate. Schumer and the Senate may not have enough support within his own Democratic caucus. Just like I said, at least two Democrats who represent states ravaged by the opioid epidemic, Joe Manchin and Jeanne Shaheen, by the way, West Virginia and New Hampshire, respectively, have expressed skepticism about the proposal. House Democrats previously passed a bill to legalize marijuana in December 2020, but that measure didn't go anywhere in the Senate, which was still under GOP control at the time. The bill, titled Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement, or the MORE Act, would clear marijuana related convictions from people's records and formally remove it from the federal list of controlled substances. It is crazy to think, in 2022, according to this government, marijuana is as dangerous as heroin. Just think about that. Even if you've never done heroin or marijuana, who in their right mind would think that they are identical and the same? Okay. It 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 makes my mind go fuzzy. I can't even think of an insult. Okay. It just marvels the mind. Okay. I can't fathom how someone could think like that today, unless they've been living under a rock. Or what was that Brie Larson movie, Room, where her and her kid were stuck in a room for a couple years? Or that Jodie Foster movie where she was living in a cabin, Nell or some shit. She had her own language. Then I understand people thinking, oh yeah, marijuana is bad because they don't know anything. But I have talked to some international ladies on the dating apps, and some of them come from countries that they still view marijuana as bad as heroin. And you know, one of them said, well, in my country, the belief is once you start smoking marijuana, pretty soon you'll be under a bridge shooting up with needles and doing oral sex for money. And I thought, I wish that was happening here, but it's not. The legislation would also impose a federal tax on marijuana sales to fund programs aimed at helping communities harmed by the so-called war on drug policies that establish harsh punishment for distributing and using drugs. I mean, in this world, in this country, in this type of government, capitalism, that we just want to tax everything and then waste the money on wars and shit. How marijuana has not been legalized and used for that, it boggles the mind. And I like the idea that they're going to use the money that they're going to get from the taxes and reinvest it in the communities that need it most. And I'm sorry, the war on drugs was absolutely racist. Absolutely racist. And I don't know what your opinion on reparations is. Personally, I've flip flopped back and forth. Part of me is kind of that boomer mindset. I can't help it. Of well, we haven't been slave owners for a long time, and I didn't own slaves. My family hasn't owned slaves that I know of. Why should we give money to people who also were never slaves or whatever? But the more that you try to talk yourself into not accepting it, you start to realize, well, at least I do, because I have a fucking brain and I know history of this country. I think, well, sure, that's true. Slavery hasn't been around for a long time, but it's not like ending slavery ended the horrific atrocities that the racism is like built into the society. I mean, I'm sorry, redlining is still a thing, okay? Banks are still not loaning people of color the same loans as they do white people of equal credit scores, of equal standing, whatever you want to look at. They don't get the breaks. I should know. I worked in banking for 7 years. I look at who I work with in a corporate job. I don't see a lot of people of color. Predominantly, I don't see a lot of black people. And I could go on and on and on and on. Okay, the people that they don't even want to acknowledge the racist history or how it's still affecting us now. It is imbued in this country. It is in the fabric of our flag. You know what I'm saying? So this is a step, a tiny step in the right direction. If you're against outright reparations, or surely you can't be against using this tax money from marijuana, which I'm sorry, the war on drugs, we're sending how many people of color, predominantly black men, into decades long sentences, sometimes life in prison for marijuana related offenses. Just, it's astounding. It's astounding that people are going to vote against this. I would like to think that no one of color or no one under the age of 50 would vote against this bill, but who knows? Who knows anymore? So if you're against reparations, surely you're okay with people of color who have suffered the most from marijuana being illegal would be given a kind of a heads up on this, a lift up, if you will. And if you want to go a little bit further, which I would be, if you do legalize marijuana, I would make it a priority that people of color would be the first ones to be able to own businesses like this. Give them the chance first. It's going to piss off a lot of white boys. Well, we don't have a White History Month. Those people. Who gives a fuck about them? This is the ethical and moral thing to do. It's a decision that should have been made decades ago. We shouldn't still be talking about this bullshit in 2022. So you can look at it as a form of reparations. That's how I view it. I'm not even going to repeat what people in my family have called the idea of reparations. It's outrageous. These people consider themselves card-carrying Democrats and think that there's nothing racist about them whatsoever. But then you talk about reparations, and then you really see who they are. You really see who they are, okay? But anyway, this is a huge step in the right direction. Do I think it's going to pass the Senate? Fuck no. Do I hope that Biden actually mans up and actually does a presidential decree and actually just fucking write it, do it? Who's going to stop him? He's the president. Just do it. Anyway, but moving on to another cool story. In the light of Clarence Thomas's and his wife's current affair with lunacy, Democrats unveil a bill to impose ethics and recusal standards on the Supreme Court. That should have been there from the get-go, but it's not. And every Republican I know is saying, oh no, Clarence Thomas is a good man. He's an honorable man. If this was one of the liberal justices, if this was Sotomayor or Ketanji Jackson Brown, congratulations. As I was recording this, she was just voted in. I mean, it was a done deal days ago, but still, it's good to see that it actually went through. So congratulations. This is amazing. But if it was her husband or Sotomayor's husband or any of the liberal justices, significant others, Fox News wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. And you would see recusal and ethics standard bills from every Republican senator. But because it's a Clarence Thomas, we can't do that, says Mitch McConnell. A group of Democratic lawmakers unveiled the legislation on Wednesday that would force the Supreme Court to adopt various ethics standards, including recusal requirements for justices with financial and personal ties to parties involved in cases before the High Court. By the way, 2 Trump-appointed justices have recused themselves in cases recently. Kavanaugh, I forget the actual case, but he wasn't even directly linked or anyone in his family or circle. But whatever the case was, and I apologize, I don't know it, the actual business that had to do with the Supreme Court hearing was something that his family did. Whatever business that his family, like his brother or cousin, does, is what the Supreme Court case was talking about. So he recused himself. And the other one was the chick. I'm drawing a blank on her name, Comey Barrett. I think she also recused herself on something. So if the Donald Trump appointees do the right thing, surely, this should be a law going forward. Oh, what is this bill called? The 21st Century Courts Act. A little trolly and cunty, but I like it. Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democrat from Rhode Island, said the bill is aimed at addressing a lack of clear, enforceable standards for when justices should recuse themselves. A Supreme Court justice is not required to address why he or she doesn't think he or she needs to recuse, and if a party thinks they really ought to have recused, they have no recourse. There is no penalty for getting a recusal wrong. The legislation largely mirrors previous bills aimed at reforming judicial ethics at the Supreme Court, but the Democrats said Wednesday there's a new urgency behind the effort amid outcry over revelations involving Ginny Thomas, a Republican activist and the wife of Justice Clarence Thomas. I mean, if you haven't had a chance to look at her text messages to Mark Meadows, good God, you thought your uncle on Thanksgiving was bad? Jesus Christ. Actually, you know what? I think I have some of the text messages here. These is actual text messages that the wife of a sitting Supreme Court justice texted the sitting White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. Help this great president stand firm, Mark. You are the leader with him who is standing for America's constitutional governance at the precipice. The majority knows Biden and the left is attempting the greatest heist of our history. This is a fight of good versus evil. Evil always looks like the victor until the King of Kings triumphs. Do not grow weary in well doing. The fight continues. I have staked my career on it. Well, at least my time in DC on it. I can't see Americans swallowing the obvious fraud. Just going with one more thing with no frickin' consequences, the whole coup, and now this, we just caved to people wanting Biden to be anointed. Many of us can continue the GOP charade. She also wrote to Meadows that she was angry with then Vice President Mike Pence for not taking the steps necessary to block the certification of the election results. We are living through what feels like the end of America. Most of us are disgusted with the VP and are in a listening mode to see where to fight with our teams. Let me read that again. Most of us are disgusted with the VP and are in a listening mode to see where to fight with our teams. Jesus Christ. Those who attack the Capitol are not representative of our great team of patriots for DJT, Donald J. Trump. Amazing times, the end of liberty. I mean, there was more, but Jesus Christ. And by the way, there's many spelling errors. Some words are capitalized. I mean, a boomer wrote it. What do you expect? Text messages released last month indicated Ginny Thomas had been texting with former President Trump's White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, apparently calling for action to overturn the 2020 election in the days before the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Clarence Thomas later participated in the Supreme Court review of Trump's court battle with the House Select Committee over records requests for White House documents and communications with senior officials, including Mark Meadows. Justice Thomas was the lone dissenter in the court's 8-1 decision granting the House committees access to the record. Get the fuck out of here, Thomas. Last podcast, I already said what should happen. Tarred and feathered, kicked in the ass until he's not moving. At the very least, he should be impeached or be fired, or he should retire if he wants to save face. So, do I think this is going to pass? Again, no. It's not going to pass. The bill would, among other things, force the Supreme Court to adopt a code of conduct for justices. The justices are currently the only judges in the federal judiciary who are not subject to such ethics policies. It would also allow parties litigating before the Supreme Court to file a motion asking for a justice's recusal. Under the proposed system, all 9 justices would be involved in reviewing such motions. The lack of standards at the nation's highest court have damaged public trust in the institution. Big special interests spent massive sums of money to rig the federal judiciary in their favor, and Supreme Court justices have been the least stringent ethics and transparency rules of any senior federal officials. Our bicameral bill, I don't know what that means. I apologize. Usually I'm pretty good with words. I don't know what this word means. Bicameral, Bicameral, of a legislative body having 2 branches of chambers. Oh, I see. I guess that's most bills because you have the House and the Senate. But I've never heard that word before. Our bicameral bill would help to hold justices to account and restore Americans' faith in their courts. Hell yeah. Well, I'm hoping this Sheldon Whitehouse, he's the one that is leading this bill. I think he's going to get most Democrats easily in the House, but this is not going to pass the Senate, much like marijuana, because if anything sounds too good in this country, you have to imagine it's going to fail. This country does not plan. It reacts, okay? In my 35 years, rarely have I seen this country actively plan for something that is going to happen or has not yet happened, but they think will happen. Look at climate change. We haven't done a goddamn thing. Rather, it's easier for us, instead of planning, to just react when something bad's happening. If there is an asteroid that's plummeting towards Earth that's going to wipe us out like it did the dinosaurs, and we have 6 months to live, I think we'd get I think we'd all figure out, you know what? I don't care who people voted for or any of that bullshit or what they think of critical race theory or what they think of pro-life, pro-choice. None of that shit matters. We're all going to die. We're all in this together. I think the mass majority of the country would come together and try to defeat something, but it's only because it's imminent. We know it's going to happen. However, that movie Don't Look Up, although it was a little pretentious and whatnot, I do think that you would still have a bunch of holdovers that would not accept reality. They could be getting punched in the fucking face, and they would say, nope, I'm not getting punched. It's just, it is who they is. There was always that kid in the class that would do whatever he or she could do to get attention. Either jumping off the roof, eating worms, getting punched in the cunt. It doesn't matter. There's always that weird kid. And those weird kids grow up. They don't stop. Or they rarely do. But anyway, I got to take a break. And we'll get back to the remaining stories here. All right, I'm back. I had to preheat the oven. I'm making coconut shrimp tonight, okay? I don't think there's many foods I like more than seafood, specifically shrimp and prawns. Ooh, scallops are good. Fish. Every fish I've ever eaten is good. Except, mahi mahi didn't do it for me. And you know what? Neither did lobster. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked here. There's two more stories I want to quickly talk about here. Jen Psaki to leave the White House for MSNBC. Oh, God, the swamp just gets worse and worse and murkier and muddier. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki will leave her job for MSNBC this spring. Psaki will leave the White House for the network around May. The news follows speculation over whether the press secretary was looking for a job at MSNBC or CNN. Oh boy, which one's better? While Psaki has been out of the briefing room this week with COVID-19. Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has also been out with COVID-19. White House Communication Director Kate Bedingfield has held most of the briefings, which was seen as an opportunity to effectively audition for the post. She declined to confirm Friday if she's leaving the White House to work for MSNBC. You can't get rid of me yet. I have nothing to confirm about my length of public service or planned service. I'm very happy to return to the podium after her stint with COVID-19. And then it goes on and on and on and on. Are we okay with this? I didn't like it when that walking punching bag Sean Spicer left to go to Fox News. I don't like it when politicians go directly into the media or a lobby firm or anything like that. I don't like it. They have too much power. They have too much insider knowledge, specifically when they're going to become a lobbyists. But when they go to either a Fox News or MSNBC, you can just tell right away that they're going to be partisan. And then then the administration they came from was partisan. So then you just start to dislike government more and more and more, which opens the doors for extremists like Trump to come sneaking right in because they say they're an outsider. I'm going to drain the swamp. So I don't like this. I think there should be a rule or a law that says you at least have to wait, 2 years, 3 years before a public official, especially if you're an elected official. But if you were serving on a president's cabinet or anything like this, you have got to wait a couple of years to do anything that has to do with media, lobbying, or anything. If you want to start a podcast, go right ahead. I guess you can't stop them there. It's free speech, but I don't know. I don't like it. It's a little dirty to me. It's a little bad taste. And I like Jen Psaki. I think she's a little stuck up every now and then. I think she's a bit cunty every now and then. But also, I love how she shuts down reporters a lot of the time when they ask bullshit, stupid questions. And she actually was a really good press secretary, to my knowledge, from what I've seen. Is she the best? No. That's always going to be the Italian mook who was press secretary for Trump for like 2 days. What was his name? Oh, God. God, I can see his name, too. I mean, he did end up kind of turning on Trump eventually. Trump, Italian press secretary. Not Italian secrets. Anthony Scaramucci, the mooch. I'm sorry. The mooch was fun to listen to. Was he a dirtbag? Obviously. He's Italian. Of course, he's somewhat of a dirtbag. But I loved it. He just had charisma. And the way that he talked a whole bunch without saying anything, you almost got to respect the man. With a name like Scaramucci, you know what you're getting. But anyway, I'm not okay with it. I don't like cabinet members being directly filtered in to the wasteland that is the mass media, especially MSNBC. Good Christ. I think, is she going to take over that cunt, Rachel Maddow? I mean, it's disgusting. Tucker Carlson is the worst. Bill O'Reilly's even worse. Who's the other jabroni on Fox News? The guy that you just want to knee him in the face a few times. Oh, who's the other big guy? I can see his stupid face too. I wonder if I type in Fox News mook, what would come up? Oh, God. Fox News. I hate even typing in the word journalist because they're not really journalists at this point. Sean Hannity. Jesus Christ. Guys, I've been spending too much time with my boomer family. Maybe I caught a case of boomeritis because I can't think of names. I can't think of places. I can't think of emotions and words. But anyway, we're going to close out our new segment. I'm going to play you a clip about Jon Stewart's continuous fight for veterans. In this instance, he's been fighting for veteran health care to extend healthcare benefits to people who are affected by the burn pits. President Biden talked openly about this fight during his State of the Union before those hyena baboons started interrupting him, Bobbert and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But I think Biden truly believes that those burn pits accelerated or actively helped kill his son. So you would think that there would be such a strong push for this. And Jon Stewart, hopefully our next president, is continuing to fight for the right causes. If you have any doubts about the man, just listen to his emotional plea here.
So this is sort of simple. I mean, when you see the entire veterans community standing together, united as one, to get this done, and it's going to come down to what it always comes down to here. We need 10 Republicans. That's it. After 20 years of fighting, this is what it comes down to. 10 Republicans. We get that, and the veterans want to get the health care and the benefits that they fought so hard for, that they earned, that they're sick and dying for. We wanted Hendricks to be here today. She didn't testify just 3-4 weeks ago, but she can't be here to them because she's in a hospice. That's what this is about. We can't wait any longer. This delay is unconscionable. And you're hearing today, you're hearing a lot of nonsense about, is this responsible? They're all going to say that we want to do it. We want to support the veterans. And we want to do it the right way. We want to be responsible. You know what's nice? If they'd been responsible 20 years ago, they had to spend trillions of dollars on overseas adventures. If they had been responsible and had to spend billions of dollars for defense contractors to poison troops, if they had been responsible and understood that 20 years or more was going to an overflow and an influx of sick veterans paying the consequences of those work, they had the chance to be responsible, and they blew it.
God damn right, Jon Stewart. For a party that loves home American values and the veterans and the military, the fact that there's going to be so much Republican push against this bill is just staggering. Again, if you call yourself a Republican, if you vote Republican, look at yourself in the mirror and say, should I be? Do I actually believe what they say? I do that all the time with the Democrats. I do it all the time with the progressives. I do it even when I do agree with some Republicans. But people who just blindly believe whatever the D's or the R's say, I mean, how are you an adult? Have you learned anything? When you wake up in the morning, what is the purpose of you getting up and living your life? I mean, are you that selfish? Anyway, I'm done with news. I'm gonna jump off the roof if I keep going. Briefly, I want to touch on sports. Major League Baseball opening day today. I wish that the Seattle Mariners were playing a home game today in this weird 70-something degree weather. I think it's like 76 degrees outside. And then tomorrow we're going to get rain. And I think then we have a snow warning over the weekend. Jekyll and Hyde weather open here. Really bipolar. I mean, climate change. Come on, man. Stop teasing us. But the game got canceled. We're in Minnesota because of inclement weather, speaking of. So the Mariners opening day will actually be on Friday instead of Thursday. But whatever, I'm excited. The big news, of course, is that Julio Rodriguez made the team, as he should. The guy hit over 400, almost 500 on base. He's a phenom at 21 years old. Although I'm not a fan of his nickname, J-Rod. I think that's just a short-term thing until we think of something better. Because we already had A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez. Do we really want to just move it to J-Rod? That's just lazy. That reeks of boomer laziness. I kid the boomers. I shit on them constantly, deservedly so, but they're bad, but are they that bad? I mean, yeah, they're pretty goddamn bad, but but yeah, I'm super pumped for the Mariners. Am I ready to be hurt again? Absolutely. But like I've heard many New York Mets fans say, New York Knicks fans say, yeah, but this is our year. We're going to surprise a lot of people this year. Well, that could be us. That could be the Seattle Mariners. The NFL draft is coming up. The Seahawks, I hope to Christ they don't take a quarterback in the first round, and I hope you don't take one in the second round. I predict, here's my prediction for the draft. We are not going to stay at number 9. I truly believe we are going to trade down and accumulate more picks because we have so many holes on this team that we need more than 3 picks in the top 40. We may need 5 picks in the top 40, which I'm all for if we do it right. If, what's his name? Thibodeau from Oregon is there at number 9. You almost have to take him. You have to take him. If you don't have him or that offensive tackle from North Carolina State, Efem Ikonwu, he's an African name. I apologize. I have a hard time saying it. He's an offensive tackle from North Carolina State. The guy is literally a genius. Like, he got scholarships from Ivy League schools. I think Yale, Harvard, whatever the American ones are. I don't know. Ivy Leagues, wipe my ass with them. I don't give a fuck. But, I mean, he got approved there, and he instead went to take a football scholarship. So, if those two guys are there at number 9, you got to take them. You got to take them. And if they're not, well, then sure, trade down. But for the love of all that's mighty in this world, I don't know what God John and Pete believe in. They probably believe in the Jesus God. If you're listening to me, Pete and John, do not take Malik Willis at number 9. Do not take Matt Corral at number 9. Do not take either of them in the second round. For the love of God, hear me. What else is going on in the world? I saw that Lizzo, the R&B pop singer, has a new TV show called Watch Out for Big Girls. And girls is spelled Grrrls. Just quickly, I don't like this fat acceptance that's happening in the world right now, particularly in America. I think it's only happening here. I don't think fat is acceptable and beautiful. That outlook is being embraced by many other nations. But America, we're just so literally fat and lazy that instead of trying to lose weight and better ourselves and get healthier, we'd rather just say, no, fat is beautiful. And if you think I need to lose weight, you're an asshole. No. No. I don't think you should be fat shaming people. I don't think people should not be hired because of their weight. And this is common sense things, but we should not be glorifying obesity. And that's what Lizzo is. She is obese. She's a damn good singer, don't get me wrong. I like some of her music, but I don't like how we're now promoting the idea of fat as a good thing. It's not. It's dangerous, especially during COVID and in a country with no health care. Are you kidding me? How many people died from COVID because they were fat as fuck? If they were half of what they weighed, they probably would not have died. I don't know what's changed. I have always struggled with my weight. Most people in my family have struggled with their weight. It's not good. It's not sexy. It's not something that you should not be ashamed of. I mean, talk to anybody who is a senior citizen or getting damn close and they've been fat as fuck their whole life. Their lives suck. They hurt. They stink. They can't reach parts of their body when they're in the shower. I mean, their back, their knees, arthritis, not to mention blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, cancer. The list goes on and on and on. So, I respect Lizzo as a singer, but as a promoter of fat being beautiful and acceptable, go fuck yourself, Lizzo. And the whole idea of her show, by the way, is that she is, it's like a fat girl tryout to be her background or backup dancers. Which, like, if you want to have fat girls dancing, fantastic. But don't promote it like this is a good thing. I mean, how funny would it be if during the show, a few fat bitches just start dropping and they start dying because they're dancing and this is the most activity they've had ever since they ate that last sub sandwich. They should actually be eating like pudding and shit as they're dancing. Now that would be funny. But no, I don't like this. Fat is beautiful. It's acceptable. No. I personally have struggled my whole life to lose weight. And I'm finally getting to a point in my life where I feel comfortable with my body. I'm still overweight. I still need to, not probably, but need to lose probably another 20 pounds. But yeah, I will never, ever believe in this fat is beautiful. You can't say anything about my weight. No, it's stupid and lazy. And this is why we'll be speaking Chinese here in a couple years. Oh my God, did you guys hear about that dinosaur fossil that was found in one of the Dakotas, North Dakota? They found a dinosaur fossil that was so well preserved, it actually has skin. And you can actually take a look at it. It looks like a giant claw. I think it belonged to a sauropod. But let me pull up the BBC article here. Scientists have presented a stunningly preserved leg of a dinosaur. And by the way, there was other wrinkles to this story. I'll get into it. The limb, complete with skin, is just one of a series of remarkable finds emerging from the Tanis fossil site in the U.S. state of North Dakota. Tanis fossil site is spelled Tanis. But it's not just their exquisite condition that's turning heads. It's what these ancient specimens are purported to represent. The claim is that the creatures were killed and entombed on the actual day a giant asteroid struck Earth, the day 66 million years ago when the reign of dinosaurs ended and the rise of mammals began. Very few dinosaur remains have been found in the rocks that record even the final few thousand years before the impact. To have a specimen from the cataclysmic event itself would be extraordinary. The BBC has spent 3 years filming for a show to be broadcast on April 15th, narrated by no other, Sir David Attenborough. When he dies, I hope they put him on their money. Sir David, oh thank God he was knighted. Sir David will review the discoveries, many that will be getting their first public viewing. Along with the leg, there are fish that breathed in impact debris as it rained down from the sky. We see a fossilized turtle that was skewered by a wooden stake, oh, like a vampire. The remains of small mammals and the burrows they made. Oh, our ancestors. Skin from a horned triceratops. Amazing. Amazing. The embryo of a flying pterosaur inside its egg. Oh my God. And what appears to be a fragment from the asteroid impactor itself. It's amazing. Some people get a little upset about the possibility of maybe cloning extinct animals like the dodo, woolly mammoths, and of course dinosaurs. I don't think we're going to get a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World type situation if we do that. But can you imagine if we start cloning dodos and woolly mammoths, we introduce them back in their natural habitat, but then we also clone them for food? If we can somehow genetically modify these animals so that they don't fart out poisonous gas that clogs up the atmosphere and helps climate change happen, that would be great. That would be great. And it would fix a lot of the starvation happening in third world nations if we can start shipping mammoth and dodo meat. I see only good things from this. No, true. No, true. If we start cloning dinosaurs and we put them in a park, well, then yeah, that's kind of stupid and capitalistic. And what the fuck have we learned? And if we're going to clone a dinosaur, it would be kind of cool to go to a zoo and see a dinosaur. But I don't know. Part of me is worried about dinosaurs running amok because I love Jurassic Park so much. But would that really happen in this day and age? If Elon Musk was in charge of Jurassic Park like he's now in charge of Twitter, which, side note, I personally despise Elon Musk on a personal level. But you can't doubt his acumen. He is a genius. I really do believe that. And if he can make Twitter have freedom of speech again in a lot of ways, I applaud it. But anyway, yeah, if Elon Musk was running Jurassic Park, I don't think he would be having a one fat IT fuck, Dennis Nedry, in charge of the entire park. No. He would hire the best. He wouldn't pay them shit, and there'd be no benefits, and they'd probably be apartheid money from his South African family. But hey, as long as the park is safe and people aren't getting their heads ripped off by a giant T-Rex or getting spit on by a Dilophosaur, sign me the fuck up. I'm over white chocolate. I think it is the worst chocolate. It tastes like chemicals. I don't think white chocolate is natural. Milk chocolate's barely hanging on, okay? I don't dislike milk chocolate as much as white chocolate, although, I mean, nothing compares to dark chocolate. If I'm on a date with a lady and I ask her, what's your favorite kind of chocolate? And she says milk chocolate, I'm going to recoil a little bit, but I'm not going to end things right then and there. But if she says white chocolate, not only am I going to puke in my hands immediately and it's going to spray everywhere, but then I'm going to get up and say, you got the bill, bitch, and I'm going to leave. I don't need that in my life, okay? Nah. I'd rather date a hardcore vegan, atheist, Trumper, Antifa, whatever, QAnon, LGBT, QAnon, whatever. I would rather be with them than someone who would rather have white chocolate, not only over milk, but dark chocolate. There is very few things in life as good as dark chocolate on anything. Anyway, I digress. The reason I brought white chocolate up is I bought from Costco limoncello white chocolate almonds. They are delicious. but they are too sweet. And every morning, it is a stage 5 emergency. Let's put it that way. It may be TMI for y'all, but I'm open. I'm open here, okay? I'm honest and open, and dare I say, a little bit vulnerable. So, fuck you, white chocolate. I think you're racist. I think we shouldn't see color anymore, and especially in chocolate. I mean, chocolate it should be the one thing that unites the world. And I'm sorry, we don't have room at the table for you, whitey. You got milk and you got dark. That's it. But with that, I think we can wrap up. I love y'all. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Don't be a cunt. And yeah, root for yourself. Because if you can't do that, no one's going to do it. LaFonda, fucking chill.